Welcome, everybody, to episode 81 of the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card Podcast. We're your host, Adam, Amy, and Russell Gibson. Russell, the playoffs, they're heating up.
It's just non-stop at the moment. The action is very consistently excellent. That's the only way I can describe the basketball this year.
High-quality television viewing from one day to the next. Games are going down to the wire. Yeah, there's excitement everywhere. And it's good.
So,
it's a good time of the year.
I know this is almost sacrilegious, but I don't actually watch very much at all of live basketball.
Oh, wow.
And I'm doubling down on this actually now because NBA.com on their League Pass have just introduced this new feed where it's called Possessions. And essentially I don't know how they do it. They sit there literally with an eraser, and all the bits that you see is only the actual possession itself. So
that's the condensed.
Well, it's
feed
sort
or
of
whatever
halfway
it is.
between a full and a condensed. So it's
wow.
You get every single possession, but in 30 minutes. So
That's
if you think
tiny.
about it, it's really good. And then so instead of say a game takes an hour and a half, you're basically getting like 2 or 3 for the price of one. Like it just speaks to me on so many levels.
Wow, that's just that. I don't know. I've watched the condensed version before, and that just weirds me out.
Yeah,
and I like watching it. I watch it when I get home sometimes. So if there's a game on, like a 9:30 in the morning game or a midday game, and I get home from work at 5, like I'll get home and I'll turn the game on, and by then, all the timeouts have been cropped.
Yeah.
So it's the full game, just with no ad breaks, really.
Yeah.
And you get the tail end of the timeouts, which is nice as well. So it's good to see League Pass sort of providing a bit of variety.
I think they've made a lot of effort to improve, actually.
And
their price dropped significantly. Like, would it go down by 60%, something like this?
Something like that. It was to really, they want to get people back on board, and they've upped the content. Anyway, we're not doing an ad for League Pass, although I have been watching some 90s and 2000s finals, I'll admit. But yes, I was going to go back in time. I could have gone further back, but because then we could have segued very, very nicely into the first topic.
We've already segued. So
we're talking about vintage games, so we'll go into vintage cards. What about card trimming? That's weird. I don't know if it's an ugly head. Well, it is an ugly head, but Evan Mathis.
So whoever this guy is, apparently a very well-known trimmer that people join the dots together on Blowout forums to out this guy. And then just recently, he's actually made a video showing you how to preserve or conserve or restore, vintage cards and
how to make your cards look their best.
Yeah, and part of that is trimming. And look,
cleaning up, there's trimming, there's doctoring the card to a certain extent.
Yeah. Look, I think to summarize this really into like 2 sentences for me is, I was trying to think of the closest analogy of this. I feel like this is almost like tax evasion. It's like knowing all the tips and tricks how to tax evade, or maybe even be, walking on the line of doing something illegal, but you might do it, but you wouldn't then go and make a video about it and put it out for the world to see.
Yeah.
I really think, that's the line that this guy is now trading. And for me, it's just like asking the tax agents to come and look at you and examine you and, everything that goes along with that. But I suppose the modern analogy of this is, people on Blowout forums, and then will PSA pull his cards out of their register now? And
well, that's the interesting one. I saw a comment saying, well, surely now PSA, BGS, etc., will go through any submissions by this guy.
He has to be blacklisted now.
And I don't know if you can retrospectively degrade the cards, but you just have to be mindful of him.
I think under the PSA guarantee that if you've bought any of his cards, you would get your full money back.
Oh, wow. It's interesting. How do you know?
So if anyone is out there that disagrees with that, please let us know, because that is my understanding of the PSA guarantee.
It's just, it's such a, I don't know, it seems like has the potential to be such a big rabbit hole to go down. Like the what ifs. How do you know it was this guy? How do you know if he actually trimmed it? Surely there are cards he did trim and didn't trim. But yeah, that's...
I think at this point, you just have to lean on the side that he's done it, and he's done it more than once. Do you know what I mean? And I think you have to just like blacklist the guy.
Yeah.
And, the interesting part of it for me is everything other than the trimming, I actually don't have a problem with. And
cleaning a card, like
we reached out to the guys from, was it Kent's or?
Yeah, I remember. I remember the cleanings, the card cleaning.
We
Cleaning.
really
Inverted
wanted them
commas.
to come on to talk to us about what you can do and how you can do it, and what you can do before you send your cards for grading. But they
before you
unfortunately
cross that
declined.
line, kind of thing.
That's right, and not about And so that's where I sit in this. Whereas I think part of this is incredibly educational, but
yeah.
I would also say too, this guy's just gone way too far for me, and it's not that I hope he gets into trouble. That's not what I'm trying to say, but
I'm trying to understand his motives. That's my thing. Is like, okay, I get it. People trying to figure you out and trying to out you. So now you're making these videos showing people how to do it to what, get more people on board, to get people back on side, to deflect away from what you've done, and getting other people to do the same thing. It's weird.
He said on a couple of different threads in that he is basically just happy to lean into the controversy and he's not going to shy away from it.
Yeah.
So maybe this is him just like rubbing people's noses into it to literally,
It also goes under the any publicity is good publicity, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm following him. Well, we are now following him on Instagram, right? So that that does count for something, doesn't it?
Yeah. That said, the card trimming is the most interesting story he's posted. Having a look, but yeah.
Where do you stand on this? So for me, I think this is egregious, and I don't think it's something that should be done. And I think that he should be penalized or held accountable for it. So where do you stand on this as an act?
So my line personally, and this is not like everybody has their own line, so to speak.
No, definitely. This is just like it's an opinion
so
piece.
my line is very much not using additives just to clean a card, like getting rid of fingerprints, surface marks, etc. That's as far as I sort of go with like tidying a card up before you send it off for grading, I guess.
Yeah.
Is the it's nothing anything more than that. Like I feel like it's grey with the sprays or the additives that you can potentially use to clean the cards.
Yeah, right, okay.
If it's not leaving a residue, I don't have a problem with it. I have concerns, but I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
But as far as altering the card by trimming 0.4 of a millimeter off a card so that it's a sharper, cleaner edge, completely opposed.
That part is cut and dry. Like, it's just no debate for me. It's like...
Imagine a card had a black border and someone got a black Sharpie and touched it up. It's the same thing. You're altering the card by removing.
So, I suppose just for the record, no, I don't participate in this. And actually, I don't even own like a card cleaning kit. So I haven't even like stepped down to that. In saying that, I am incredibly interested and I do want to learn more about this. But the only added I would put to this is, and some people talk about this on social media, is with art conservation. So when does it go between the line of altering a card to conserving it? And some of those, like particularly those 100-year-old cards, which you can tell that they've preserved it, or whichever phrase you want to utilize here before they've sent it off to PSA. Look, I think if it's a professional doing it, I actually don't have a problem with that.
I actually have a follow-up to that. I think what about if, say, for argument's sake, there was a ruling body on it? Do you know what I mean?
Like regulate the hobby.
Well, we'll go back to regulating the hobby. But say the grading companies, there were strict guidelines about what they will and won't accept.
I mean, PSA is very clear about it. You can't leave anything on a card. Yeah.
But removing from a card, does that
when you say remove, do you mean like remove a fingerprint?
No, remove part of the card.
Oh, you mean trim?
For trimming it, yeah.
No, that is definitely legal too, because then the actual card is not complete. The size. Yeah.
No. Yeah. But cards are also, because we all know, and we'll give Al a shout out because it is his birthday today.
Happy birthday, Al. Yeah.
He's the first name that springs to mind when I hear about Panini's quality control. But that's the thing. Like, these things are stock that's cut, right?
Sure.
So there is a chance that digitally measurements there's a tolerance on the card. So if you're cutting it with intolerance, it's still the right size.
So are you saying that in some instances it's okay?
No. I don't like the idea. I'm opposed to actually cutting it off, but I'm saying would it meet the guidelines of being the correct size if there's a tolerance and it keeps it within tolerance? I don't know. That's just a food for thought thing more than anything. I'm like, surely, because I've worked with different manufacturing products, and there is the QA side of things has a quality type, like the quality component comes with tolerances. So it'd be plus minus 0.2 of a mil, for argument's sake, just as a random figure.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And if it meets that, then it gets through QA. So if it's a plus minus 0.2 of a mil, trimming 0.1 of a mil off a card theoretically keeps the card within tolerance, and is probably one of the reasons that these things are getting through quality checks and getting graded.
100%. I would say that's exactly what this Evan Mathis and every other card trimmer is leaning into.
Has worked out the tolerance and working within that. Because if you go too hard, you get done for it.
Yeah, I suppose, and now when you say it like that, I suppose I'm almost challenging my own opinion here. Like, why am I so hard against card trimming, whereas I'm okay with other forms of, cleaning or restoration?
Or maintenance,
Trimming just seems to me like the step too far.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just the imaginary line that's in my head where I'm just kind of like, enough's enough. And
interesting.
This is beyond just putting a bit of cleaner onto a card, Yeah.
We'll put something up on the Facebook and see where everybody else stands on it.
Yeah, like almost a voting poll. Yeah.
Yeah. Trim or not to trim. And there is no right or wrong answer. Like, everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Absolutely.
And there is a right or wrong answer, obviously. If PSA say it's been doctored, then they won't grade it. There is a risk involved.
I don't want trimmed cards, I'm not going to lie to you.
Thank you to our sponsor, EJ Cards, a small but motivated company specializing in cards. EJ Cards believe passionately in great bargains and excellent service, which is why they commit themselves to give you the best of both. If you're looking for something new, you're in the right place. EJ Cards strive to be industrious and innovative, offering customers something they want, putting their desires at the top of the priority list. Find EJ Cards at www.ejcards.com.au.
All right, second topic of tonight is a personal rabbit hole topic for myself. So, as you could understand, the amount of time I've spent looking at 1718 Prizm is pretty large. I would say it's probably my predominantly the largest set, I would say, in terms of time that I've spent looking at.
Yep.
And one thing that I subjectively noticed over the years was the green parallel.
Yeah.
East-west is often out of whack. And to the point that, again, I'm not a genius at this, or neither am I very good at it. But when I look at cards in terms of, what am I going to send to PSA, I've never actually seen a green that I'll be like, oh, this will 10. I'm definitely going to send this off.
It's funny. I've got a Giannis green that I thought might 10.
You should send it off.
It'll probably get an 8. There's probably other things wrong with it. Not very good at cleaning card fingerprints off.
So I reached out to our friend Ryan at Gemrate, and he put together us for some, really fantastic stats. He went through every single parallel for us and gave us.
Ryan loves doing this.
He loves it. This is his wheelhouse. So he gave us the gem rate of each card, and he also gave us the total number of cards that have been sent off for grading too. So if you're looking for these statistics, they're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You just need to go through our feed and you'll find them there.
Yep.
And I think, Adam, I'll let you open up of your thoughts or analysis, what stands out to you.
Looking at the graph, I don't want to send off a hyper ever.
Yeah.
I feel like, interesting that the hyper gem's the lowest. It might be because of the cards that are graded, though. Do you know what I mean? Like, it is a low volume. Actually, it's not a low volume. 700 cards are still quite a lot to not gem.
It's an absolute outlier. Even my buddy who I went drinking with last night, who knows nothing about cards, that was the first thing that he commented on.
Yeah, it was the Prizm, the hypers.
Yeah. So, and on Instagram, there was a little bit of chatter around this. So Ozcard Collector pointed it out, and Ryan replied to say that it's due to the printing of it. They get a lot of print lines on it.
So it's that kind of.
And as soon as you
finish,
as soon as you say that, I'm sure you've seen hypers with print lines. You think about it, and you're like, yeah, of course I've seen them. Like it makes a lot of logical sense, doesn't it? So
it does. Gold Prizm is the number to 10, or is
Correct.
the gold?
The
gold shimmer or whatever it is.
This is pre all of that.
Okay.
So yeah, they were to 10. This was like the true, golds.
The
Yeah.
proper parallels, not the
Not these fake ones they
not
produce
the
these
extra
days.
short prints that they're trying to throw in to expand the print run to get us back to junk wax levels. Okay. So we've obviously hypers and then golds, there's just not many of them. Is honestly. Golds are a number to 10. It's very that's it. One of ones.
Just 100 have been graded, yeah.
They've only graded 9 one of ones, so I guess it's not 18. And they've hit it's literally at 50% with between fast break black and normal black. So 18 cards graded, 9 have gemmed. But that's incredibly
It's a good hit rate, really, isn't it?
Well, it's incredibly low numbers. Like we're not looking at like silver's 51%, so it seems like it's the norm. You know what I mean? Like if you look at the biggest numbers, they are hovering in that 50% range. And base, well, we all know how well people look after their base, so you expect that to be a bit lower.
So probably for me, to answer the question that I initially asked about the green, so they actually don't gem anything less than, anything else. So they're sitting in that sort of 46% range,
Yeah.
which is a little bit less than silver. So silver comes in at 51.
Yeah.
And then before you get to the big drop off, at 41% is the fast break Prizm neon green, which they're number to 5.
Okay.
So like really when you say it in that sort of context, it's actually not as low as what I had, the picture in my head. So I think I was actually a little bit surprised by that. So maybe it's just the ones I've been looking at and I do need to look a little bit harder, or maybe they do allow a little bit more left to right tolerance on it because, they are a little bit bad. So
yep.
I spent
and it might just be their QA overall. Like it might not just be the greens that suffer.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So I went through and just pulled some sold listing numbers too, because I thought that would be good to mix this thing and give us a little bit of context. So really interestingly, getting stats on the hypers was very difficult in terms of solds because there's not that many of them. And then also too, the sold data doesn't sort of go back that long. So the Jason Tatum hyper sold just recently for 1,177.
Wow.
The pop on that is 9. The really interesting thing was the previous sale on that was $61. So if you bought that for $60 and flipped it for 1-1, you've like done yourself an absolute, ripper.
Wow. And knowing how rare it is to actually gem these now.
Yeah, that's right.
You're like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the Kyle Kuzma rookie hyper PSA 10 pop 6, $135. All time, that's up 48% that card.
Wow.
I don't mind that actually.
Yeah. It's an interesting one because it's not a silver prism, but it seems like it's harder to get a 10 than a silver prism.
Oh, significantly, yeah.
Near impossible.
And in terms of hypers, that's pretty much it. Now, I did find some other interesting stuff if you'll indulge me.
I'll go for it.
Jason Tatum PSA 10 green, 2,947.
I was going to say that is the price and that is the card that spiked that has thrown me into a frenzy when it comes to color matching.
You have spoke about this one before, but I was still very shocked by that, and that was significantly higher than his silver. So that was really interesting to me. Yeah. The Kuzma green PSA 10, $47.
Yep.
Pop 90 on that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is the one that I probably like the most out of everything. And this is a little bit of a long shot, and I'm drawing some lines together, but bear with me. The LeBron James red, white, and blue is $13 raw. Now, if you go to the gem rate on the red, white, and blue, actually it's quite difficult at 42%. So I think there's a little bit of room there to be buying up the LeBron Jameses, the Giannis ones, those sort of guys that I think have got a bit more staying power and, veterans. You do not need to be particularly prospecting on guys is what I'm trying to get to here, sending them off for PSA, because I think that if they do come through and then in the future, if people do start to look for, some scarcity or some rarity, I wonder if that's going to be a little bit of a play to be had. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, what was the last red, white? It was interesting you said the red, white, and blue because who picked it up? Someone picked up a red, white, and blue because I got the Cade. And then so did Lachlan a week ago. Got the red, white, and blue Cade Cunningham.
Yeah, I didn't actually compare the 17-18 to the 21-22. But that's an interesting one to see if there is like some comparisons there in the red, white, and blues. Yeah.
Oh, that could be one for Ryan to do, like a cross
Comparison
analysis.
to see.
Yeah.
Might be a bit early though, because actually there's not that many cards have come back from that crop to PSA. That
I
might
don't
be
know.
like
They
a
do
2-year project.
hundreds of thousands a month now. It's
Yeah, but it's funny you say that. There's not that many of that crop.
the new crop. Yeah, it's true.
Donovan Mitchell red fast break numbered to 125, $300. Now, the reason why that one caught my eye, it's pop 20, but the highest that sold for is 1,500. So I like that in terms of, buying something low. Donovan Mitchell again, red, white, and blue PSA 10, $77. So again, sort of keeping with that more difficult card to grade. And interesting on that one, Card Ladder said that's actually overvalued by 1.8%. So I was really surprised by that. The highest that card sold for was 800, and the pop on that is 355. So I think that's why Card Ladder would sort of lead it to be overvalued. Yep.
Far out.
One for a little bit of a flyer, Josh Hart. He's playing really well with the Knicks at the moment. His silver PSA 10 sold for $50 recently.
Nice.
And the pop on that's 158. So I'm going to keep saying the pops, and I'll tie this off at the end, but just sort of try and keep the pop like numbers in your head a little bit. Giannis PSA 10 silver sold for $59 recently. Now, I think that's a really good buy again, and the highest that sold for is $325. So again, you're buying a distressed asset, so to speak.
Yeah.
The Fox Green sold for $400 recently. Now the previous on that was $115, so he's also spiked just as Tatum has.
Yeah.
And there's not very many card sales on that, and it's very volatile. So it sort of depends on the time of the year that you buy that card. It was very much, up and down. You'll like this one. Derek White, PSA 9, sold for $325. And of course the silver. And the silver PSA 10 sold for $48. The pop on that is $160. Now, if you're looking for a dollar bargain, pocket change basement bargain card, Dennis Smith Jr., PSA 9 silver last sold for $1. Pop $145 on that.
Wow.
Now, if you want to go the sort of the first class Emirates Lounge version, you can go to the PSA 10 for $5.54. Pop on that is $3.17.
Postage would be the killer there, I reckon.
Yeah, it's going to be
$30 postage from the States.
Now, my biggest head scratcher out of all this was Jared Allen. So he's been an all-star. We know he's a good player. He's still an up-and-coming kid. PSA 10 silver last sold for $31. So
maybe he's just one of those players that doesn't really get a lot of attention in the spotlight, I guess.
He definitely doesn't, but I still think at $30, that's like a nice little pickup for someone, who's an all-star. And I think he's going to be in the league for a few years. I think, that's okay.
Yeah. And he'll stand out at some point, hopefully.
Yeah. Now, my last one is Fultz, and I think everyone's pretty aware of my obsession with Fultz the last couple of years. So he's actually not really picked up much at all. So he's silver PSA 10 last sold for $105.
Wow.
I don't mind that.
That's reasonable.
Yeah.
And now, reasonable.
We're talking about pop counts, right? So most of these were in their hundreds. Nothing was in thousands, right?
Yep.
Now, let's just refresh that again. So Zion alone's got 20,000.
Correct.
PSA 10s, right? Now, if you add up every single base gem from the 17-18 set, every single one, it's 27,000 in total. So I think, we've been talking about Zion a fair bit on the show, and sometimes it's really hard to get your head around how many are actually out in the wild. But when you see that stat and then you hear about all those other, pop counts on that, it's frighteningly sobering, right?
It's incredible. You think about it, like you just go through all these stats, and that's for a whole set, right?
Yeah, every one.
Card. Yeah, right. And then you get Zion.
Yeah,
same with Luka, right?
Well,
I don't know what Luka's numbers are at, but
I was just going to say I don't know off the top of my head. I don't think so.
Oh, really?
No,
Zion's the big one. Zion's the 20K plus standout.
All right, I'm going to say Luka is like 8,000.
I'm going to say 15 to 20.
Okay, and what card are we talking about? We're talking about the base PSA, right?
Yeah.
Just before we go any further, yeah. All right. So what did you say?
15 to 20,000.
15 to 20. All right.
Where are we? Oh yeah. Yep. base PSA 10, 19,400.
Really? I was
Yep.
so wrong. Oh my God.
That is a lot of Luka. To throw the jab in, lot of a guy that didn't make the playoffs this year.
Right. So a base at its highest sold for 1,100. No,
Yikes.
2,004.
Oh.
And currently sitting at 245.
For PSA 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can say I sold raw ones for more than anyway.
It's just wild, isn't it?
It's crazy.
Closing thoughts on the 17-18 breakdown.
Very interesting. There are definitely bargains to be had. Like there's to keep to double down on the analogy. There's gems to be found.
Yeah, I think my love for Gemrate has been known for a while, and I think this is part of the feedback I gave to Ryan. Is like, you have all this data, but how do you use it and then sort of roll it out into something practical? So
yeah,
I think when he's presented it like this, I actually found this quite user friendly, and then I could actually, make some decisions about, what I was going to target down to. So I actually really enjoyed this exercise, and so I think my targets are going to be hypers and red, white, and blues. I think that's the two places where, obviously, for the rarity of hyper, and then for the value for the red, white, and blues. And I actually think they're not a bad looking parallel. So
no, they're actually quite a good looking parallel. Yeah, interesting.
All right, Embiid, this is your baby. Talk to me.
Well, it was announced today that Nikola Jokic, even if he does win the championship, will not be a 3-time MVP and NBA champion. He will be a 2-time MVP and champion because Joel Embiid has won his first MVP award.
Yeah.
Deserving. It's not like he wasn't in the top 3 for the whole year. So don't get me wrong on this, but I don't know. I would have liked to see Jokic take it out.
Who do you think deserved it, though?
I thought Jokic deserved it. He's a freak of nature. That said, Embiid's the same. Him and Giannis, like the three of them, put their teams on their proverbial back, and sometimes it breaks their back. Sorry, Giannis, but yeah, it's a tough one. I think Jokic is the better player, and has had the better year in my eyes. I think Embiid has had a better year as far as his past performances go. And I think that went against Jokic. Because once you're at that top level, you have to do something extraordinary on top of because of the feats that you've already gone to. Anyway. Yeah. Embiid's the MVP. I mean, they're both still in the playoffs. They're still on on quality teams and have got their teams are a significant factor as to where their teams are. But I think if Embiid doesn't play, Philly's still got a chance. Whereas if Jokic doesn't play, I don't think Denver does.
Yep.
And that's why I would go Jokic.
So the really interesting thing for me is about the games played, because this has been a real topic of contention, I think, in terms of load management, the fan experience, seeing bench players instead of starters. And then, of course, how do you then equate that into giving people awards when they haven't played 25% of the season, right? So Giannis this year played 63 games, Embiid played 66, and the Joker played 69. And I think if the Joker had played 80 games or even 74, so he played 74, 72, 73, 80 the last 5 years.
Yep.
I think if he had played that extra 5 games, he would have won the award.
Wow.
And I think, realistically, Embiid could have won it the last 2 years, but the thing that held him behind is the games played. So he played 68 last year, 51, 64, 63, 31, and of course, he didn't play his first 2 years. So
correct.
I think in some ways it was Joker's award to lose. Now that I've seen those games played numbers, I think, frankly, that's the deciding thing, because it was easy last year to say that's enough to tip you over the edge to put your vote to him. Yeah. So I think the gameplay between those two guys is, really not that much. But I got to say, the way that Jokic controls the court and the flow of games and can attack from anywhere and counter-attack from anywhere on the court, his game is growing on me so much. Like the way he plays is just, phenomenal. I know we should be talking about Embiid.
But
All right, what can I say nice about Embiid? He has made basketball look easy for someone that size.
yes,
And the skill at his size is just, we talk about unicorns a lot. I think that phrase is, thrown around, but he's just like
he's
the true
phenomenal.
definition of that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
And yeah. All right, let's talk cards. That's enough of our basketball analysis.
well.
Let's stick to what we, relatively know.
Let's go. Let's have a look and see if we can find any value hobby wise for Embiid. He doesn't get a lot of hobby love in my eyes. I think for someone of his status, he's
To be
I don't
fair,
know.
we've actually said this the last couple of weeks. We've touched on this, and I would say
Embiid
that's the theme that we've sort of come through.
Agreed.
So yeah,
I'm just looking for a bargain right now, and I've seen the silver Prizm PSA 10 last sold for 1,100.
yeah, is that a bargain?
Now over the last 6 months, that card is down almost 27%.
And its highest it sold for was 5.7. So I would say, irregardless of the last 6 months, which I agree, not disputing what you're saying, but that to me just says
not a lot of confidence. Trend.
No, I think it's actually a nice time to buy.
Like I think it's a great time to buy. I think he's criminally underrated. Looking at parallels,
I wonder if that's the type of card that over time is just going to trickle up slowly.
That's where my head's going.
And you start to compare him against the sort of the old timers to sort of get some more realistic comps of in 20 years time, 25 years time.
All right. So looking for diamonds in the rough, so to speak.
Me, what have you got?
The blue. Actually, we'll go for an unnumbered variant at the moment. Last sold for 450. Population count of 70. The red, white, and blue Pulsar PSA 10 Embiid rookie.
How much?
Last sold for 450.
Okay.
Where are we? All time. Higher sale was 1275, but that's a pretty sweet looking color match. And yes, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed and not afraid to say so. The blue to 99, I would say is pretty good value at 1,234. Population count of 12.
Yeah, right.
That would be where and it's a nice color match because it's the blue and he's wearing the blue Philly uniform. Then we've got the light blue to 49, expense there. Last sold for 2,550, although Card Ladder values it at 1,865.
Yeah, right. Okay.
But pop count of 10. Then what have we got? Given the blue, given the light blue. Yeah. Then is there anything else that sort of sticks out color? Blue Wave, 1,000. It's a nice little blue. But yeah, I think some of the parallels and the numbered parallels, that blue to 99 really stuck out to me. $1,200. Small pop count. It's not going to be incredibly large. So if you're looking for an Embiid for your collection, I think that might be the one.
Do you think that's a better buy than the silver, though?
Where is the silver at? 1,100?
Yeah.
Blue 99 for $100 more than the silver. I would say I'd buy the blue. That's just me.
I think you're right, but I suppose what's just going through my head is what's the one that the
default.
Yeah.
Yep.
The card that's liquid, the one that everyone, wants, eventually, and
the currency, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe I'm
right.
leaning into that too heavily.
Yeah. But it is. That is the one. But that's also when you look at a silver Prizm and we look at historically, I guess we can't go back and look at the Jordans and the Kobes because, do you know what I mean? Like each era has less and less, as the further you go back, less rookie cards.
Sure.
So you don't have the numbered stuff as much.
Yeah.
In the further you go. So I don't know. Numbered cards are the ones that sell for hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of dollars. Whereas the silver Prizm is an expensive card, but in a different ballpark.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because the parallels are so rare, like the gold or the orange.
Yeah.
Such a low pop count that the gem mint version of that sells for a pretty penny. Like you'll see that on gold and sell for $500,000, whereas the silver Prizm sells for $20,000.
Yep.
but there's
So
only
the 20-year play you're saying is better to go for the numbered cards. Look, you're right. It's not even a
the
debate.
lower
Is
the
it?
number, the better, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what we've sort of got around. You can have an infatuation with color matches, as I've slowly developed. But yeah, there's definitely there's no accounting for the numbering on a card.
Alrighty, my pick is the Mosaic Prizm.
Yeah,
The blue and green.
nice.
Now this is before Mosaic was its own set, so this is it's a Prizm card.
I feel like this is a thing that you like Mosaic more than
I like Mosaic, but wait for the price. $2.95 is the last sold on a PSA.
$2.95. That's better than buying a
coffee.
But yeah, no, you're right, and the pop count's pretty reasonable too.
85 on the pop. So yeah, that will be my pick of the litter.
Yeah, I like it.
Alrighty, our next segment is actually a post from Sports Card Codex. So huge shout out to Carl, and we will be speaking to Carl and the lads actually on the next episode. So can't wait to.
It's long overdue with our friends across the ditch. Is it the ditch? The pond? It's not a pond.
We can call it a pond.
Yep.
The street.
Yep. Our friends on the Littler Island.
So there's two parts of this post, because actually I think the post itself was interesting, and then underneath that there was a little bit of conversation that I want to get your opinion on. So
okay,
the card that was posted is Paolo Banchero 22-23 Donruss, rated rookie autograph.
Yep.
Choice 1 of 1. It's sold for $7,000 USD. It's a sticker autograph. It's obviously raw.
Yep.
But there's nothing in there that says the card's damaged or anything like that. So let's assume it at least gets a 9. Okay.
Yeah.
Where are you sitting on this card in 12 months? And then where are you sitting on this card in 2 years?
In 12 months, you've got egg on your face.
Really?
I reckon it's one of those things that there's the hype surrounding a card. There's going to be a lot more Paolo coming out. And yes, it's a 1 of 1, but there's a lot of him coming out at the moment. Like, there's still so much product to be released. And there's only so many people with the means to get these cards, the higher end stuff. Now, by the time if you're trying to flip this in 12 months, what are you competing against? Like, what other high end Paolo are you competing against?
So in 12 months' time, that means IMAX is going to be out, Flawless is going to be out, NT.
Yep.
So in terms of autographs, that's what you'd be pitting against.
If I get a number to 10 rather than the sticker 1 of 1, I think I'd rather that. Do you know what I mean? Or a number to 100, like if it's an NT RPA or a Flawless, or I just think because, and it's no offense to Donruss, but it's a 1 of 1, but the sticker auto, it puts it into an elite category, but it puts it at the bottom of the pile in that elite category.
Yeah.
There's going to be, Select will come out at some point, and there'll be 47 different 1 of 1s of Paolo. Obviously not autos, but I don't know. The 1 of 1 tag to me is starting to not hold the same weight it used to.
So if that's the case, then what does base hold to you then?
Oh no, you just get rid of base. Like long term base, unless we're talking inaccessible and incredibly rare, that the base doesn't sort of it holds sentimental value, I'm sure. People that collect it, like a set, as far as collecting a set goes. But what I'm saying is this, like a Paolo, and if he we'll give him the benefit of the doubt, and we'll say he's going to be the next Jordan, because everyone's the next Jordan.
Let's call him the next Grant Hill.
All right. Does he drink Sprite?
But it doesn't get injured.
Doesn't get injured. All right. Cool. So what's it going to be in 20 years then? Those 1 of 1s are still going to be there. I don't think it will be a waste of money. And I think over the long term, that price is fine. But I don't think in 12 months, that's the same sale price.
Yeah. All right.
I think once all the product comes out, because we find this with Prizm, and we'll even go back to base and silver Prizms. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you buy Prizm month 1, you'll pay $1,000 for a silver Prizm of Paolo. And if he has a run of 5 bad games next year, his silver Prizm will be $300.
You actually be shocked of how low Palos are going for.
Really?
Yeah, it's like
Um,
100 US, something like this.
I,
Honestly,
I was going
it's
to be like, there was base Lamellos that were. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you'd sell the guy a base for $200.
yeah.
Luca's the one. Luca and Zion base cards for ridiculous amounts.
I wonder if people have wised up a little bit in terms of
The
how
Mad
easy or
Rush.
how difficult it is to get cards.
I
Yeah,
think we're no
so
longer in
the
COVID,
silver
and
Prizm sold for raw for 144. That was
that's
5 days
normal.
ago. That's US though, but that's not $1,000, right?
No,
I
that's
think
no. We're
that's
not talking Jordan Poole numbers here.
it's quite reasonable for a number one pick. Actually, I think
That's incredibly reasonable for a number
yeah.
one pick.
So I'm just going to argue the opposite side of the coin because I wasn't too sure what you were going to say
Mm.
on this, but I'll just try and paint the other side, right? So
Yep.
I would say your general feeling was that this is overpriced and probably not going to pan out too well. So
In the short term, yes.
yeah. So my
Yep.
sort of counter argument to that is like, who is collecting these cards? Because I think once you get over, I would say even over $1,000, I would say the people who are bidding on cards,
Mm.
the pool diminishes significantly.
Yeah. There's got to be a drop
So
off, right?
yeah, but
Yeah.
I wonder if the people that also swim in that pool have a different mindset and a different approach to cards. So for example, to this, we know this guy's the number one overall pick. We also know this is a one of one. And if I'm being complimentary to this card, actually, I think the aesthetics of it is quite good. I think the black looks excellent. I actually don't mind the choice printing. The only aesthetic downside for me is the obvious is the sticker. And I think if
Sticker
they
auto.
had that on card, I think that the overall appeal of this
Mm.
card, increases a lot. So I suppose, and then again, I wonder if the people who are collecting these cards value the one of one a lot more than maybe the credence that you sort of apply to it. And that's why I was trying to get your opinion on that because I just wonder if you start to diminish the value of a one of one, like literally what is a base worth in your sort of
On
collecting
the
scheme.
scale.
Yeah. Do you know
Scale.
what I mean? Like I think that's
I,
that
I do agree that you
that
make
for
a
me
good point,
is tricky on that,
but my secondary scale was the set,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah. And
like
that's
the
what base cards should be for. Like realistically, they shouldn't be
yeah
sending off to PSA to come back and selling for $1,000. Like that's nonsense,
yeah yeah.
Like, and I think we're past that now.
But Donruss choice versus, and I'm
So
saying at what point is an iMac to 99
yeah.
rookie auto
So
price wise? What
so
would you prefer to own?
what I'm gonna say about this card is I think this might be the best sticker card that you can get out of any set. And so hear me out on that. It's better than Hoops.
Mm-hmm.
It's better than Prizm. I think the Prizm autographs, frankly, aren't that
Prizm
nice.
are known for their autographs.
Yeah, and I
Yep.
think they do it on purpose. I think this is better than that.
Yep.
And then after that, realistically, the higher end sets, you're not like Select, Noir, iMac. You're not buying those cards for the sticker autographs. You're buying them for the on card autographs.
Mm.
So, I wonder if at this particular price point,
Yeah.
this is
I don't know.
this is
I feel like it's reasonable, but
yeah.
I think there'll be a dip off because more products come out.
I definitely agree with you. I
Yeah.
wonder if in 12 months, if this is resold, it's going to go down.
Yeah.
And particularly if the hype, drops off this kid. So I think the person who sold this, they sold it at the right time. I think that was strategic,
sure,
like a
for
very
sure.
good idea.
Yeah.
Interesting though.
I could see it selling for like 5.5 and then 4.5 and then 3K and then all of a sudden selling for 15K. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And all these people have like seller's regret. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty. If you scroll down the comment section in that post ad,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see a comment by, excuse my pronunciation, Mies Spage. Now, he starts off by saying cards will halve again in the next year anyway. Bad time to be investing big bucks in cardboard. We're nowhere near the bottom, in my opinion. So I was very keen to hear more about this, just because, I think it's a really good conversation piece. So I said, why do you think it's going down another half? He said, because the false COVID market is over. You could buy an on-card autographed Kobe for $100 in 2019, regardless if cards were undervalued. and he says in brackets they were, the percentage of people leaving the hobby now will leave excess stock everywhere. The breakers, the flippers, the so-called investors aren't interested in something sinking or non-profitable. We're in the junk era 2.0, and quite frankly, I believe it's going to be worse than the 90s. What goes up must come down. It's coming down, but it hasn't come down yet.
Whoa.
So look, my reply to this is that I don't know the answer to this, and I'm definitely not an economist, so I'm literally just speculating as much as I'm assuming what Spadge is. So I actually think base has dropped off pretty much to nothing. Like you can pick up polo bases for like $5. So realistically, how much more is that going to drop off? And we're not seeing that, base Lucas selling for, 100, 300 anymore. So I think that's done, right?
Yep.
And then I actually think the high end is holding pretty well. Like, yes, we've definitely seen some reductions. And again, our friend Eric, that I love so much on Twitter, he's always showing how much cards are going down. Like, he's showing some high end Lucas at the moment that are going down by, 3x and all this type of stuff. And look, definitely it's going down, but at the same time, it's still selling for like $100,000 or, 50 grand. So I think for me, that's a little bit, relative in some ways. But this is the one where I wonder if this is where the pain's going to be felt next, is in that sort of mid-tier stuff. So I found a silver PSA 10 of Trae Young, who I would consider to be sort of a mid-tier player. Like he's a step or two below Luka in terms of prospects.
He's all right. He made the playoffs.
Yeah, he's a good player. But I would say he's, say, a step or two above, say, a John Collins or a Bam Adebayo. You know what I mean? So I'm sort of, So his silver PSA 10 all-time high sold for 1,700. That he is just on a downward slide. I think that's the best way you could describe that graph. And it last sold for 242.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there's going to be other people that are, going to be transitioning into that sort of $100, $200 range mark that you were previously paying close to $2K for. What are your thoughts in that space?
It's interesting, and I think I've alluded to the new version of junk wax with the way that Prizm are bringing out different parallels and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree with the it's going to be worse than the 90s. I think it's a very different situation we're in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got and we've talked about it on the show a number of times. The number of times we've talked about affordability. Like, everybody wants to make $1 million on a card, right? I'm sure we've all dreamed of going, oh my God, that sold for $1 million. I've got one. Cool. Doesn't happen very often.
Hey, if you had $1 million card, would you sell it or would you keep it?
That's a good question. Right at the moment, I'd sell it.
Yeah.
But, different circumstances or market downturn thinking it's going to go up, or if would I flip it into more stuff?
Yeah.
But I think you got a very, very good point with the higher end. In the 90s, we didn't have like the Goldens of the world. Do you know what I mean? Like we didn't
have breakers either. So I wonder if
this could be and I'm not going to discount the fact that it could be junk wax 2.0, right? And I think the way that modern product is produced, yes, there's a lot of stuff out there that isn't going to be particularly valuable. But I think the separation, because the junk wax didn't have that. The junk wax era didn't have one of ones.
There's
junk
tiers.
Wax era, they didn't have it. Didn't.
And back then there wasn't tier. Yeah, I think that's the difference. Also, I would say for me, I think that the two differences for me is that I think the participation is still there.
Yep.
And as much as people hate on breakers, yes, breakers are the devil, and we're the cause of everything wrong in the world. But also too, breakers involve many different people into the hobby and make it possible to buy into a box.
Imagine being able to buy in to someone opening a case of cards. In the 90s, I could never fathom that. I'd have to go in with my mates to buy a box.
Yeah.
And of that, the big insert set that I wanted to collect, the card was one a box. It's not like in this day and age, if I want to go and lash out I don't know, it is $500, $1,000, whatever, for a box of Fleer Ultra looking for a Jordan Scoring Kings. Just because I buy a box doesn't mean I'm pulling a Jordan Scoring Kings. In fact, I could pull one of the other Scoring Kings because it's one per box. Like it's. I think Breakers provided a new way to consume the product.
Yeah, but I suppose what I was trying to get to with that though too, I wonder if that's actually going to hold people in. So like he was, so
Very
Spadge was
pessimistic. I was going to say I've just read through all of Spadge.
no, no, I mean I didn't perceive it as pessimistic. I think that's just his opinion. I think he's just saying maybe there's more value to come. And by the way, Spadge, please don't think that we're sitting here picking you apart. The only reason we're bringing this up because I think it's very interesting and I think it's it's worth discussing. So like, please, I hope we're not having too hard of a go at you. But I wonder though too if there is a bit more engagement in terms of now there's Whatnot and there's YouTube breaks and there's eBay auction breaks and player breaks and case breaks and and I think that that does matter and so. I don't actually feel. Yeah, I
think there's a lot more diversity. That's the that's the first bit.
Walking away from the hobby. I'm not like denying that, but I think there's a lot of people staying, and I think there's still people getting engaged. So
yeah, I agree.
Look, so the real question is, how far are we to the bottom, Ad? What's your thoughts on that?
I think our trip to the bottom is dependent on global factors. I think it's the economy.
Well, our interest rates just got raised again today.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But America has started to slow. Inflation is slowing.
Yeah.
Which means, and it's going to come down to the United States. Once the US stabilizes with their inflation, then that has an onset, like an onflow factor to the rest of the world. So you'd like to hope that, I mean, in times of recession, cards might bottom out, but what happened after the last junk wax era? Because I'm pretty sure that all the Kobe rookies that I've got, or you know what I mean? Like Kobe was printed in the junk wax era. It's still hard to come by a lot of those cards and get them in good nick. And there's a lot of very valuable cards in amongst that. So I don't know. I think there's going to be a place for cards everywhere. And I think the hobby was in a really good spot and is still in a good spot. I think that the affordability keeps the grassroots alive. And if the grassroots are alive, then the hobby will be strong long term.
I think overall the hobby is very healthy.
Yes.
Like that's my overall grasp. But the one thought that I can't get out of my head is that, remember when we did that show about the old school cards and which ones mattered?
Yeah.
I wonder if that conversation piece is going to be applied in real time now. And I wonder if you're going to see some cards move in ways that don't really make sense. Like something that you perceive to be quite valuable because it's not the chase card or it's not out of Prizm or it's not out of iMac or it's not out of Flawless. It'll come down. You know what I mean? And then Prizm will hold and Flawless will hold and then sort of other things. I wonder if that's the type of stuff we're going to see. And look, this Trae Young. So the other thing that my final thought here is some of these cards then become, well, when do you buy them? Because they're too good value. And
if they keep dropping, they're not good value, are they?
When do you buy this Trae Young? So it's currently at 248. All-time high was 1,700.
Do you look at the all-time high anymore because of COVID? Because of the crazy spike, do we look back at that high, that all-time high? Like, is that a blip on the radar? Is that something we shouldn't be putting as much weight on?
Maybe I do emphasize it too much.
Like we take out the big. I mean, we call it the COVID crazy period.
But even if it goes up 10% or 50% or 100%, it's still nothing near that all-time high. But still, that's still pretty tasty.
It is, and that's if you're buying a card at $250. And you're able to flip it for $400 next season. That seems like a good place to be, right?
I think if that goes sub 200, that has to just become in everyone's watch list.
Yes, yeah, it's definitely an interesting one.
Trae Young is not a slouch.
Nope, agreed. But the question is, where does he fit? Does he fit as a really good role player, like just not a superstar, just a star, below star? It's interesting. I still think he's a star, but yeah, I don't know.
I think we've got time for one more thing.
Cool.
Would you like to talk about Cade Cunningham's sold listings or Contenders hobby?
Let's check in on Cade. We'll look at
All right.
Contenders. We'll talk about Contenders when we're on next. Either that or after we talk about with the Codex boys.
Now, I've gone for a bit of a mixed bag this week on Cade. PSA 9, Cade Cunningham Mosaic, Rising Stars, sold for $6. Cade Cunningham Mosaic, Choice, Red, PSA 10, sold for $121.
Okay.
Red, White, and Blue, PSA 9 Prizm, $22 USD.
Mm-hmm.
Mosaic Silver, PSA 10, $57 USD. Now, this is the debut card. PSA 9 Green, $13.50. PSA 9, sorry, I lied to you. PSA 10, Purple Wave Prizm, sold for $97 USD. That was the one that I was probably the most salty about tapping out on, I would say.
Yeah. I'm intrigued.
Contenders Optic, it's the orange and blue. That's PSA 9, sold for $670. And you know, before we're talking about some of the stuff's going to go up and some of it's going to go down, I feel like we've touched on so much stuff that was going down, like, you know, the Mosaic base card. I mean, yeah, it's base, like, that's true. But to go that for $6 and then to have the Contenders Optic auto go for $600, I think that actually perfectly illustrates, you know, where cards are at now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Panini Spectra Interstellar Prizm, PSA, sorry, the photo on this is so small. PSA 9, sold for $81.
Yep.
Mosaic Silver, Cade Cunningham, NBA debut, PSA 9, sold for $20 USD. And I'll just give you one more because this is more than enough now. The Ruby Wave, PSA 10, sold for $131 USD. And actually, I think that's a really good way to sort of end that segment. So,
yeah.
Have you been tracking much Cade? What have you been thinking about Cade lately?
Sort of a one eye open. I think
Yeah.
the playoffs have got me sort of focused at the moment. So it's very, very player heavy at the moment. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
Let me. Sorry, I know I've literally been talking the whole time, and I'll just interrupt you straight away. But I also think that's a good time to be zigging when people are zagging, right?
Zagging. Yeah, true. That's fair.
Like,
that's fair.
Who's looking at Cade Cunningham at the moment? You know, the guy's got a broken leg. The playoffs are on. Like, to me, that's like
anyone selling Cade's probably selling him at a loss. Like they're not expecting to make heaps on it.
It's prime time.
So it's prime time to buy.
Yeah.
That said, I mean, getting in before everybody, like in the off season, is when most cards have that sort of dip off.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, one player I wouldn't be looking to invest in at the moment would be the obviously maybe Embiid's still a good buy, but I think we're going to see a spike for him. But anyone that's in red hot form is going to see that kind of that recency spike. You know what I mean? Like Curry just put up 50 points. Steve Kerr's come up and gone.
He's just too good, honestly.
Well, he compared. He goes, well, this is what it was like playing with Jordan. Yeah. You didn't realize you just didn't appreciate what you had right in front of you.
Yeah, it's just too good.
And that's Curry. Like, he just turns it on. It's crazy.
Yeah. All right, Dad. Final thoughts?
Let the playoffs continue. I'm enjoying this. Embiid might be a bit of a bargain. Commiserations to Jokic. I'm sure he'll make up with it by winning a championship this year.
Yeah, he'll be fine. He'll get over it.
I think he'll get over it.
Yeah.
And Embiid can go out and have a few celebratory drinks because James Harden's got it in Philly at the moment. Yeah, and it's good to see on the Facebook group that I've corrupted. I mean, influenced some of our listeners into the color matching. The color matching.
Absolutely.
Someone actually took down a Scottie Pippen auction, buy it now option the other day because I made an offer on the card for the red parallel. And I thought it was a good value, and then they took the listing down. Like, damn it!
Another eBay story of hell.
Yes, eBay. Actually, eBay. Speaking of Scottie Pippen, I picked up a Scottie Pippen rookie for $50, so that goes under pocket change.
Fantastic.
And,
I mean, it just scrapes in.
Yes, I'm not including shipping, but yeah, 50 on the mark. But I did pay with 2 20s and a 10. Just so it was changed, not a note.
That sounds like a technicality ad.
Yes. But yeah,
Hey.
interesting time ahead. Don't trim your cards, people. It's naughty.
That's right. Don't trim that Pippin before you send it off for grading.
Well, when I looked at it, it was in good nick, and I'm like, I wonder if this has been tampered with or if this is legit. I've been talking about trimming. Oh, no. I have to measure it now.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. Have
Yes.
a lovely week, and we'll catch you all very soon. Cheers.
See you soon, guys.